assistant professor in the Department of Anthropology. And I work on music and politics in the French Caribbean. I guess the fact that my students have a Twitter account.
I grew up in a small town called Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. So my name's Josh Armstrong, and I'm in the Department of French and Italian. I'm interested in the question of sort of spatiality in literature. And fun fact is my wife owns a Thai restaurant over on Atwood.
I grew up in Towson, Maryland, which is a suburb sort of just north of Baltimore. I'm Michael Cardiff in the Department of Geoscience, and I basically try to figure out what's underground. A fun fact about me is if you tried typing on my keyboard, it would look like gibberish because I use a different keyboard layout.
I grew up in Manhattan, Kansas. My name is Kate McCullough. I'm in the Department of Botany. I am a plant ecophysiologist, which means that I think about how plants work from an ecological perspective. I used to climb trees to conduct my research because I studied tall trees and how they deal with water stress.
I grew up in Italy, in a small town in between Milan and Turin. My name is Elena Donghia. I'm in the astronomy department here at the University of Wisconsin. So I use computer science or computers, supercomputers actually, to do models of our galaxy, our Milky Way. And what's fun about me is that I'm a scientist, but I love art.
So I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm Rosemary Russ from the Department of Curriculum and Instruction. Well, I am particularly interested in how mostly kids, but really anybody, understands what it means to do and learn science. I once flipped through a hoop of fire at a Duke, Maryland basketball game.
My name is Eric Hoyt. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Communication Arts. My research focuses on the American media industries, in particular Hollywood, film, and video. Fun fact is that two of the most amazing, meaningful experiences of my life occurred this fall when I had a baby named Esme, our third child, and a month later the Kansas City Royals baseball team won the American League pennant.
I was brought up in Japan. My name is Shinya Ikeda. I'm in the Department of Food Science. My research interest is dairy foods, and particularly the relationship between internal structure of food and its impact on, let's say, eating quality. When I was an elementary school student, I wanted to be a teacher of elementary school. I ended up working at a university.
I am Lucas Graves. I'm an assistant professor in the School of Journalism and Mass Communication. I do what's called the sociology of news, which is sort of looking at how journalism is produced and what norms inform journalistic work. And a fun fact about me is that I really like to play ultimate frisbee.
St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm Molly Wright Stevenson, and I am in the Department of Journalism, Mass Communication. I'm an architectural historian, and I study the history of interactivity and digital history. I have a beautiful little dog named Emoji.
From the Northwest Side in the city of Chicago. My name is Elisa Torres, and I'm in the School of Nursing. I study the effects of physical activity on areas of the brain related to depression. I used to run marathons, and now I bike to and from work.
My name is Sheldon Du. I'm an assistant professor at the Agriculture and Applied Economics Department. My research is on the two parts. One is commodity markets, means future options and the price determination in the derivative markets. The second part is about energy markets. My hometown is right up along the Yellow River. It's like Midwest of China.
I was about to go into teaching Journalism 201, which is Intro to Mass Communication, so 350, 400 students, and I needed to know somebody had my back.
I knew I would be teaching this gigantic intro class, and I felt like it might be good to get some help.
I didn't have any prior teaching experience.
It's different from the U.S. native speakers. For the international instructors, it's hard for them to catch up.
Teaching is such an important part of what we do, and yet, claims so little of our sort of time talking to our colleagues.
I got the University Housing Teaching Honor Instructor Award. With all the things I learned from MTLE, I think that's a big honor for me to know, oh, I'm good at something.
It gives you more confidence. It gives you more approaches.
So I kind of start enjoying the teaching, and I don't feel anymore so uncomfortable with teaching.
That was really my motivation, was to hopefully become a better teacher so that I could be more efficient, so that I could do my research. It was never so that, I could really bond with my students, but that's what's happened in the process.
How much I was able to take from MTLE and use the next day, use immediately.
I think I had sort of thought it would be that we would probably all become friends socially, but I didn't expect us to have a shared set of experiences around teaching.
It's almost like a support group thing or whatever on that level.
How much I've enjoyed hearing from people that are totally outside my area of research interest.
Becoming a collaborator with someone else I met through MTLE.
What you realize very quickly is that you can do almost anything, right? There's sort of no wrong approach.
I'm not only a better teacher, but I'm a more efficient teacher. So I can spend less time prepping to do a better job once I'm in the classroom. As a result, I have more time to work on my research.
I like working with people of that age because they're at such a critical point in their life. They're expanding their horizon. They're intelligent, they're well-informed already. They come to us that way, but they also have so much to learn. Talking about backward design really got me thinking about the class from the student's perspective.
I never understood why students, couldn't just give me what I wanted. I didn't understand where the breakdown is, and I think from doing this, I realized that every student is different. And I went from being more adversarial to really trying to advocate very strongly on the students' behalf.
Address race a little bit differently than I did before, or address it at all. But I also have 11 or 12 TAs, most of whom are from Asian countries, and how do I deal with the kind of institutionalized racism against TAs of color? How do I deal with some of the racial biases that students from small town Wisconsin might have?
Beginning with the idea that you should give students a lot more opportunities to give you feedback about sort of what they already know, or about what they're understanding or not understanding from your lessons.
So now I see teaching as a kind of a process of trying something and assessing the outcome and make improvements.
One thing I tried as a result of MTLE was to be a lot more reflexive in the classroom about group projects and group work. As a professor, we sort of just commonly put students in these groups and then expect that they'll kind of work it out. But one thing that MTLE did that was really nice was provide more of a framework for letting students think about group work.
I'm super excited about science and about science teaching, and I taught this class just thinking that they would absorb my enthusiasm for it, and it turned out they hated it. And I thought, like, what's going on? How is my energy not enough to convey to them that this is great? Two things really dramatically changed. One was my actually trying to think about what I wanted them to get out of each class session. So that then also translated to me actually telling the students what I expected them to get out of the course, or what my idea was for that day. It sort of broke down the space into these small, manageable chunks that they got to feel like they could be successful in. And so in the end, they left the class feeling successful.
I discovered that it's more student-centered. And I was completely unaware of these new perspectives. So the big change I made, I would say, in all courses I teach now, and I started already, is to consider now my class like an interaction, really like a place where we interact. And I don't have only to teach, but basically I also collect a lot of feedback from my students. So the way
Becoming much more aware of what I want the students to learn, and actually moving in a methodical way towards that. And on the last day of class, a young woman came up to me and said that she had changed her major from pre-med or whatever she had been to botany and was going to study plants.
And so I was, going into teaching my first undergraduate class, a little concerned about how do I keep these people interested. One of the things I've changed, or at least I spend a lot of time trying to change, is switching up the pace of my class a lot. So something that's very practical that I hadn't thought about much before.
The realization has been that often actually wanting to deliver too much content gets in the way of students actually absorbing that content, so scaling that back and making room for them to engage with the ideas you're presenting them with. They were working for 2.5 hours, engaging with the readings in different ways, engaging with some of the concepts. And I left the classroom every week feeling really good about that lecture, or not lecture, about these interactions.
A little bit of time invested early on in sort of teaching in a directed way can save you so much effort down the line.
really try to apply almost every week what they learn, even with little attempts in classes.
Come in with an open mind and be ready to try out new things.
This is something valuable that the more time you put into it, the more you get out of it.
Try all the things at least once and really take advantage of the relationship with the other people in the cohort.
My wife and my daughter gang up on me, and they like to play the top 40 radio station, and they love those songs and they sing them and stuff. And
over to you here.
They'll come up to me and be like, "I'm all about the bass."
I'm all about that bass.
What song is stuck in my head right now?
I always have trouble with this song question because I've often considered if I were a baseball player, what is the song they would play when I went out to bat?
You want something high energy, but kind of a little bit intimidating, but also like the fans can get into, yeah.
Often it is some sort of 90s hip hop. So like Warren G. Regulators, Getting Jiggy With It by Will Smith. These are all songs that I associate with myself.
What are 3 things you cannot live without?
Wow, you mean my life or you?
Yeah.
Wow. That's supposed to be less intense?
3 things I can't live without.
So I'm gonna have to re-record. See, I kind of want to say, okay, here, I'll do it this way. 3 things I can't live without would be
My dog, my fiance. Not necessarily in that order.
This is sad comments on my life, but the one social event every week, right, is that you get together with people to talk about what it is that we do.
When I was like 4 or something, I wanted to be a trash collector because I thought they only worked the day that they collect my trash.
If I had to put down one drawback to the professor job, it's not enough time to play video games.